So, as a way to kick off our conversation this morning, ladies, I would like to ask all of you, Taryn, let's start with you. What are you passionate about today in your work?
Thank you, Mary. And it's definitely a pleasure being on stage with these wonderful, distinguished women. What makes me passionate about my work is knowing that I want a better world. And I get up every day and I live and breathe it, as I also experience the inequalities of it. But I know through my work that change is going to happen. I'm a paradigm shifter, and I like to see change, and I like to stand in that particular space. That's what gets me up every day. That's what gets me, keeps me moving and keeps me leading.
Thank you very much. It is a great honor to be on this panel today and share this space with these amazing women. What gets me passionate about my work is I think about my own journey. I think about where I'm from, an immigrant family with the classic sort of immigrant struggles. And to be in this situation today where I'm in a space where I can help communities of color, communities in need, disadvantaged communities by giving them a very specific thing. I understand it's not a panacea, but it is a small cog in a very big wheel of what's needed to get communities up and running and to uplift them and to give everyone in those communities opportunities. And that's what keeps me excited and keeps me passionate.
Good morning. We are all sort of made from the same cloth this morning. I think that, being in the company of these women and being here with you today was so important to me. And I'm excited, actually, to be here today. I know all of you don't look as excited as I feel right now, but they're going to get there. Really, this work that we're doing and building in underserved communities is my passion. I know that sounds really nerdy, but this is the kind of work we have to do. And I lost one of my best friends yesterday. She passed away at the age of 53. And it's a stark reminder that tomorrow is not promised. And we must make our lives impactful. And so that's why I'm excited this morning to share the passion about building in underserved communities.
Jane, is there another mic? Another mic someplace? Were there two mics up here? Yeah. Okay, I only found one. Oh, perfect. Turn it on. It's all good. It's all good. We had a little preparatory meeting yesterday. Understandably, Vanessa couldn't make it, and our condolences. I think I speak for everyone in the room. I lost my best friend at the same age 5 years ago in May, and it's heart-wrenching. I'm sorry for your loss. So let's kick off some other conversation. Our conversation yesterday in preparation for this panel, I wished you could have all been a fly on the wall. And I said what often happens in these situations is that we have these preparatory meetings and we're all getting to know each other and we're all just energized and talking and we feel like we could go on for an hour and we wish you could all be a fly on the wall in that conversation. So we are going to try to recreate that here because these women truly are passionate about what they're doing, and I want to share that passion with you. I want to get you inspired for today's conference. I want to get you fired up about brownfields. The work we are doing is so important to the communities we serve. So, Taryn, I'm going to start with you. What unique strengths do you think you bring to your current project or to the work you do? Talk to us about what you see as unique in your background as a woman of color in the communities you serve.
Well, first, I want to reiterate what Dr. Meredith Williams spoke about yesterday, and I think that it may have been something that was very new to you as an introduction, but it is something that I live every day as a woman of color. That is the red line experience. and that is the historic systemic racism that has overburdened and kept communities of color in their locked positions. I'm in a unique position because I live it, I breathe it every day. My family, I come from a family of real estate developers, real estate agents, and educators. And my family helped to integrate the Oakland community through their resilience acts of block busting. That's the only way we got into communities. And that's why I'm here today, because they block busted and put my uncle and parents put me in a wonderful community that is today known as Piedmont, but when blacks, Mexicans, Asians moved into the neighborhood, it became Piedmont Pines. So as Dr. Meredith Williams showed in those red line categories, it's here today and they're bringing it forward. So what it means is having and being in comfortable position in spaces to talk about the realities of people that have been oppressed. And so I am that living person.
And that lived experience is so important in the strength that you bring to your work.
And to my advocacy. And so I just encourage everyone to live that reality, to look at that reality, as uncomfortable as it is. But there is a beauty of that, and we'll get to that whole vision and what that means.
Yes,
there's an opportunity.
Yes, we will. Miriam, talk to us about your experience as a woman in a largely male-dominated field. What has that been like for you over the course of your career, and how do you see it changing in the future for the women, the younger women in this room who are coming up in the brownfields industry?
Thank you, Mary, for that. I see changes that have happened a lot, and I think that as a woman who started in a as you said, a male-dominated field, I loved science. It's what I wanted to do. It was so important for me to find a space for myself where I could learn more, grow more. And I think for me, my experience was very micro-focused. And as I grew as a professional and as I grew into the industry that I fell into, I began to question things around me and wonder about, I think something very typical for women of our age is, why am I not seeing people who look like me in positions of power? And that was something that I think it took me a while to figure out and begin to see that. And with time, and I think with a lot of women pushing the envelope and barging into spaces that they weren't invited into, right? And making a place for themselves, what I hope we've done is created role models in spaces where younger women now want to go to. And I hope that their journey is a little bit easier because they have familiarity. Dr. Williams was incredibly inspiring yesterday. You know, woman of color who is the director of an organization that does incredible work for our state. For me, that is a really big deal and a source of inspiration for myself, even in the stage that I'm at. And I hope it gives younger women a better idea of what they can achieve and understand that there are no limits. And now they can go beyond what Dr. Williams has achieved, and I think that would be the goal.
Miriam, I'm going to toss one out of left field to you. Also as a woman who came up in the science field, do you remember the very first meeting you went to when you were not the only woman in the room?
Yes, I do.
See, that is a memorable time for those of us in science and in real estate, I suspect, in very male-dominated fields.
And that's a wonderful point. I had to think of a minute because it's true. For most of my meetings, I was the only one, and a lot of the times being designated as a note taker. Right. That's why I hate taking notes. And there is some history behind that.
Vanessa, We didn't have the opportunity to meet with you, understandably, last evening, but I want to ask you a similar question. What is the strengths that you bring? What are the areas that excite you? What is your favorite project that you're working on right now? Talk to us about what you're doing.
Yeah, before I go on there, I was just laughing, thinking about, the experience of being the only woman. I was working on a brownfield development project in Southgate called Azalea. It's a shopping center, and I was the only woman at the job site. This was during construction, but I was in charge, and that is a very cool feeling.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So it's those examples are always just kind of neat.
They're fun, yeah.
So there's a lot to be passionate about right now. I think there's a greater awareness of systemic inequalities in the media, and that message seems to be translating to the Gen Zs. My daughter's 19, so I hear a lot about the inequalities, but I feel a great sense of responsibility to use the opportunities that I have been given in life to transform that into systemic work and change. And I am an affordable housing developer. That is my passion. I like building things. But it's very singular. I want to create important projects in communities like the ones I grew up in. And I've been told, and I have not verified, so if anybody can fact check, that'd be great, that I am the only 100% Latina-owned development company in the nation.
Yay! That deserves a round of applause. Yes.
But that's so depressing to me, unfortunately.
Okay.
Because to be the only one, focused on, owned this way and focused on the work that I'm doing, is for me, the project is working with people like Miriam and the funding that she's creating to focus on underserved communities, being on the AQMD and hopefully being chair this year, and being here with you to talk about how important this message is, and partnering with groups like ours so we can actually build in these areas is very important, because I may be the only Latina-owned development company right now, but I certainly won't be the only one after this work is done. There's got to be more.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Taryn, there was something you said when we were chatting last evening that really resonated for me, and it was a word, in addition to community, that kept coming back into our conversation, and that word is belonging. Talk to me about what that word means to you.
Belonging is really the foundation of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We hear diversity, equity, and inclusion, and those are just words.
Great buzzword, right?
It's a great buzzword.
It rolls right off the tongue.
But further is what it really means, and belonging is having the ability to come into a room and to feel comfortable, to know that your opinion matters, that no matter who you are, you're human, and that you can make a viable contribution. And that's where it really starts. It's creating those kinds of spaces. As Dr. Williams said yesterday, she says, I feel vindicated after George Floyd. I do too. I don't have to feel that I have to make up or to show that I am who I am. I just feel that I belong. And so having those kinds of spaces, creating those kinds of work environments, from educational all the way down to the grassroots, that's where community starts, that's where it begins, and that's the time and where we are in such a time as it is now.
Yeah. Miriam, does that word resonate for you, or is there another word that really resonates for you in your work?
No, belonging has begun to resonate for me. My deeper understanding of what that word means is fairly recent. I didn't know what it meant, and we've been trying to educate ourselves over the past 2 years. DE&I is a buzzword, and I've been trying to step outside of signaling and compliance and try to really understand what it really means. And in that journey that I've taken personally, my understanding of the word belonging, similar to the definition that you said, walking into a room and being comfortable, I was looking at it a little bit different way, and I was looking at it from the perspective of women. And what I feel it means is that we do not need to hide who we are. We can be who we are. We can be mothers. We can be wives. And that can coexist with being scientists and being developers and being managers. All of those definitions can exist in a single person, and it's okay.
Says the woman in the red stilettos. We can absolutely, I can always count on you to have the best shoes in the room. It's sometimes a competition with Noemi, but yes. There she is. Says the woman in the sneaks. Vanessa, how about you? Does belonging resonate for you, or is there another word that strikes home?
I was listening to the ladies speak about that, and I don't think I've ever felt like I belonged, really. So I kind of gave up on that concept. When I was little, I grew up in Boyle Heights here in Los Angeles, and yeah, Tony there, also from the area. But I got a scholarship when I was little to go to school in private in Pasadena, and I had to take the RTD. For those of you who are my age, who remember the RTD. So, being in a household where my father has a first grade education, immigrants from Mexico. My mom has a 5th grade education, and then I got to go to Stanford and USC, and it's a very dramatic cultural shift. Yeah. And so I don't think that I worry about belonging. Like I just think I know my cats love me mostly when they're hungry, but
that's important.
But they do, and so I just want to be comfortable with making mistakes and growing from them, and being there, available for others and growing teams. So I think it's fascinating that we do strive to belong. I hope that I could, that my daughter could have that feeling of belonging, but I don't know that it'll exist for my lifetime.
So this is impressive to me, Vanessa, because you are a highly accomplished woman, and all of us here on the stage are. But I think it's not uncommon for women to somehow feel that they haven't earned where they are, or they don't deserve where they are. There is definitely a confidence that that is challenged often, and sometimes we're the ones who challenge our own selves of our position. But I can tell you, you belong. You belong here.
Thank you.
You belong here. We all are right where we need to be today, are we not? So I want to thank all of you for sharing yourselves and your stories and your passions with us today. And I hope this has inspired you. I hope this fires you up. I hope you go out to the next sessions that Jean's about to tell you about with a renewed sense of focus and purpose and excitement for all the work, the good work that we're doing here. So thank you. Have a great conference.